Okay, guys, I'm so flippin' excited to introduce the wonderful, the one and only Caitlin Perna. I'm so excited that you're here.
Ooh.
I'm so stoked. So this wonderful woman has so generously offered to coach me for the podcast. So yes, I am over here squirming in my seat because I am extra nervous. But before we get into it, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the world.
Thanks, Karleigh. So I'm Caitlin. I'm a woman of many things. The easiest way to explain myself is that I'm a feminine intimacy coach. So I assist people that identify with a feminine gender identity or some sort of spectrum there within, to find greater intimacy with themselves and to find greater intimacy in all of their relationships, not just partnerships, because not everyone chooses to have partnerships. And I think that the greatest gift that we can give ourselves, in the ironic phrase of self-love, is to be the more connected that we are with ourselves, the more creative, and the better that we can show up in the rest of our lives. So my main focus to getting that fulfillment is through embracing pleasure and play. So that's just a little bit about me.
I love that so much. And y'all are going to have to go check her out on Instagram. We'll get all the details at the end. This girl is a woman after my own heart. She's got a head full of purple hair. Her nails are fabulously teal. Like I'm so obsessed. I'm so obsessed. So y'all need to go check her out because she is the physical embodiment of everything she just said. And it's just
life's too short for boring hair.
Yes and amen. See, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Anyway.
I just love your energy. It's so infectious. Which, like, pre-recording, we were just talking about how like ironic the introductions can be for podcasts. Like, you're awesome. No, you're awesome. But
I know.
Really, though, you're awesome.
And I went through this whole thing and I was like, okay, we can avoid all of this and we're doing it anyway.
Now we're doing it. Yeah,
I'm beginning to wonder if it's unavoidable. Like maybe it's just a natural thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, just even based off of the fact that we're talking this way, it's a vulnerable thing for other people to be listening in on our private conversation. So in a way, we're like gassing each other up, right?
You know what? That's exactly it. That is exactly it. And I was just telling Caitlin before the recording, I talk a lot when I get nervous. It makes for really interesting dates. So before I get stuck on a rant, and I go on this nervous talking thing that no one else can track but me, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to let Caitlin take the lead so I don't talk the entire time. She's going to guide me through it, and I'm going to make this as unedited as possible. So y'all are going to be following my train of thought. I am getting honest to God coached right now. This isn't scripted. This isn't anything. We didn't prep beforehand. She knows a bit about me and that's it. So y'all are literally sitting in on me getting coached, which is both terrifying and exciting. So let's get into it.
It's liberating.
Liberating. There we go. See, it's why I need you.
Okay. So for the purposes of our connection and moving through your session, I'm not actually going to mention the podcast at all anymore because that's going to be a barrier for both of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to make any mention of the fact that anyone could be listening to us because it is supposed to be just a one-on-one thing. And this is a very different way of approaching a coaching session. So we're going to actually go through a brief integration exercise before we get started so that Karleigh can get grounded. And so that part probably isn't going to be in the podcast because I don't think anyone really wants to listen to that, but back to the recording.
Okay. So take it away.
Okay. So, I'd like for you, I know we've met before and we've already discussed the purpose of this podcast, but in your own words and in the energy you're feeling right now, can you briefly tell me why we're here today and what we're going to discuss, what you want to work on?
So something that I myself have personally experienced, and I've heard it a lot from others, which is why I wanted this to be for the podcast, is that when you have gone through, any type of trauma, but especially when it comes to survivors of abusive relationships, you become very disconnected from your body. Mm-hmm. Even if the abuse wasn't physical, you don't necessarily want to leave as in you want to leave this earth. It's just you don't feel comfortable in the body you're in. It feels like you're wearing a heavy coat that's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like you're connected with the skin you're in. And as much as I've done a lot of work and I've come home to myself in a lot of ways, I want to feel more connected to myself with my feminine energy and with that feeling of intimacy with myself and with others, because that's something that I don't think I have ever truly experienced. And it's something that absolutely terrifies me because it's so new. So I would love to explore that, as well as working through things that go along with the body, like, you know, sexual relationships, and allowing yourself to appreciate it when it may have been traumatic in the past. Because I myself have experienced sexual assault. So topics like this, I don't know if any of that made straight sense, but I would like to touch on that umbrella.
Sure. So it sounds like you are looking for greater intimacy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you were looking for greater intimacy with yourself. You've come a long way, but you know that you have more to go, more of the ways that you'd like to go. That's your goal. And you want to see how that plays out for you first, and then bring that into partnerships. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. You said that so eloquently. Yes.
Well, this is not my first rodeo, so it's fine.
Yeah, you're a coach. You do this, so that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm curious if you've ever really thought about what you want your kind of end result, or you want the goal to look like through your journey through this, through the embodiment that you're looking for with yourself, and how that could play out in your partnerships. So like, what would, if you were inhabiting that right now, what would your life look like if you were already at your goal?
My end goal, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, would be to be 100% myself with someone else. So, because in the past, I would drop everything about me and become who I thought they wanted me to be. I have never truly been 100% myself inside a relationship, for fear that being myself was too much, too loud, too opinionated, too ambitious. God, I get that all the time. Too of anything. Because it just feels like, I lived the life of being a puppet versus being myself. And over the last couple of years, I've truly been able to experience who I am. And I love who I am. I love who I'm becoming, but I am absolutely terrified to lose this by stepping into partnership with someone else. So, because falling into old habits, right? Because even though I've come so far on my own, I have not been this person in a committed relationship. And I am scared that I'm going to fall back into those old habits. So my end goal would be to be whoever I am truly, and live in that with another person supporting me, them being 100% themselves and growing together, versus me melding into someone else, or someone else melding into who they think I want them to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I just want to say that you're so wise to recognize that even though you have this profound love for yourself, that you know that there is a likelihood that you could fall back into some old patterns that aren't going to serve you. And, you know, side note, it's probably, some of it's probably going to happen, but you've grown so much to be able to recognize when that's happening. And so in the work that we do together, I want to help you not just be able to recognize when that's happening, but then know how you can bring yourself home.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And thank you for that. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, you've come a long way. You've done a tremendous amount of growth, and you're so young. It's not easy to do. I mean, you've had, based off your history, and I'm assuming, this is known, that you've had a lot going on, even from a really young age, and you are making a radical profession, not just to yourself, but to whomever, like whatever relationship you're going with your son, with your family, with your friends, whomever, your partners, that like, this is me, and like, I need to stand by me. Otherwise, like, I'm not in for this ride. And that's hard given the obstacles that you've faced. So like, this isn't an easy journey. So just based off the fact that you're embarking on it at all is tremendous. Because most people are like, that's too hard. I don't want to do hard things. Like, I'm just going to sit here in my comfy thinking chair and not think. So it's a lot. So I applaud you for that.
I appreciate that. Like, I say the same thing all the time to everyone else, but hearing it, as the kids say, hits different. So thank you. Humor is how I cope with emotion.
It's the affirmations for me. Also, as the kids say.
Yes. Oh my God. I love you. I love you so much.
Oh man. Okay. So you can definitely let me know if this is not somewhere that you're seeing this conversation going, but I really want to go into when you said that you have been told that you're too much, too loud, too ambitious. I actually don't even think you said loud. That was probably just something that I added.
I don't know. I may have. It's something I hear all the time. So
yeah. I want to hear a little bit more about where that's come up in your relationships. Like, where is that manifested in your partnerships, or even before that, maybe even in childhood? What do those memories look like?
It's, wow, now that you say that, I don't even really know where to start. I have dealt with this, or heard it. I don't know if dealt with is the right word, but I have heard it from the time I could talk. The running joke in my family is that I started talking at 9 months old and I never shut up. And so it's like, right? Like, it's funny and it's true, but here's an example. I remember being in first grade, sitting in the classroom, and I am not saying this as a humble brag, just so we're clear, but I was one of the advanced students, and I would get bored so quickly. And I was given the same assignment as everybody else. I'd finish it in a third of the time that was given to us to finish it. And I would get bored. And so I'd start talking to those around me. Or if someone was stuck, I wanted to help. Me helping was apparently considered cheating, even though it was literally just a worksheet, but whatever, it's first grade. And I just remember my teacher getting so upset with me, and because she wouldn't let me read a book. And I don't know why she wouldn't let me read a book, because that would have shut me up. But I just remember her making me pick up my desk and go sit in the corner during work time, because it was the only time that I couldn't talk to anyone. And I remember being so embarrassed because I was singled out, and like the problem child, which all I was doing was talking. But anyway, I was the problem child, set over in the back of the classroom, and I wasn't allowed to sit by anyone when we were working on things by ourselves, because I was just talking to everyone else. And that, I understand the frustration from a teacher's perspective, but it's also, let me read a freaking book. Anyway, this also, like, the whole time, so I'm also known as like the black sheep of my family. Not so much anymore, considering so much is happening, and it's like, wow, Karleigh's not crazy after all. But like, anytime I have a different opinion or a different desire for something that isn't conventionally known, it's, instead of, oh, tell me more, it's, will you be quiet, keep that to yourself, just stop talking, no one wants to hear it. Especially when I started really over the last couple of years, or last few years, wow, it's been almost 3 years now, since really moving into my recovery journey, I've learned a lot. And I'm sure that like you can relate to this too, because once you learn about limiting beliefs and self-love and the way that you're living doesn't have to be that way, you get excited because you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't have to be this way. I want to talk about it and I want to tell other people. But instead of other people seeing it as me, or how I see it, it's like, I'm giving you the gift of like the last year of all of this work. I can give it to you in like 20 minutes. Like, how cool is it? And instead it's just be quiet. I don't have time. You're being too loud, which I get a lot. I'm going a little bit on a side note, but just like, particularly as far as like authority figures and families concerned, it's always been just stop talking. And there's always been some insult involved about how much I talk and how obnoxious I am. And I used to have a really big anger problem because I didn't know there was any other emotion to feel. Anger was just like my default. And so when I would get upset, my family's a yelling family. And so I would yell just like everyone else in my family would yell. And so I would yell and I would get loud, and I didn't want to hear if I was wrong. I didn't care if I was wrong. Even if I knew I was wrong, I would just keep yelling anyway. And so because of that, there's a whole lot more around that. But as far as me personally, even though I'm not that person anymore, that reputation that I built with my family weighs heavily on me. So even if they're not thinking it, I think about that, and I think they're thinking it about me. And it also is the first thing that's brought up anytime someone's frustrated with anything that I do. It's always about how I talk too much, I'm too opinionated, I'm too loud, I was too mean. Even if it happened 6 years ago, it's the default response.
Yeah.
And so I just felt, and it's only been recently that I learned that all of these things, that my voice isn't something that I should shut down. It's something that I should use. But before that, I went from this extreme from talking all the time to not talking at all because I was so fearful of being told to shut up.
Yeah.
And that also played, going on like several different, women are like spaghetti, like we talked about last time. My brain.
Yes, we're very sporadic. We move from something, it goes and attaches to something else, then it comes right back where it was before. That is your feminine energy at work here. And it is welcomed.
Okay. And you know what? And that right there, I did not realize I was going to get emotional about that. There has never, ever been a time in my life where someone has just said that, where someone has said, this is you and it's happening and it's welcome. Can you do something
for me for a second?
I'm sorry?
Can you do something for me?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Do you feel any sensations in your body right now?
I mean, I'm really antsy, but I can't pinpoint anything specific.
Where do you feel antsy?
It's in my feet. Like right now, my feet are moving under my desk, and I just like want to wiggle.
Okay, yeah, wiggle.
If that, wiggle. Like whenever I get antsy, this is kind of like my default, which again makes me so fun on dates. But
okay, that energy is welcome. Does it feel pleasant or unpleasant or neutral?
Almost neutral, but a little on the uncomfortable side, but only because it feels as if it's like it's scared to come out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because right now we're talking about, we're letting you free flow, and that in the past you've been told that that's not okay. And it's okay to free flow.
Oh, I did not think that was going to make me so emotional. Oh my God. I don't know why, but I didn't even wait. I just started opening my eyes and started talking. But when I was 17, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, I told you about it before, I talked about it on the podcast, but when I was 17, I was in my first physically aggressive, abusive relationship. And I remember sitting there on the couch, and I can't even remember what it was that we were talking about, but he had asked me a question, and it was about something that got me really excited. And I started talking, and I probably got loud, because when I get excited, I get loud and I talk really fast, and it's just like the volume just goes up. Apparently there's a setting in your car where you can literally have the volume change depending on the speed of your car. I toyed with that, and it's the best analogy for how I work when I get excited, because when I am calm, I'm really good at like keeping my voice at like a reasonable level, but I get excited, and the more excited I get, the louder it goes and the faster I go, and it's all of this thing. And that I remember having that moment with him, and he had his arm around me, and he so abruptly ripped his arm away and stood up, and he's like, "Dear God, I asked you one question. Can't you just shut up?"
Mm-hmm.
And that was towards the beginning, before before a lot of the physical stuff happened. And I remember asking, I was like, "Well, you asked me a question. Like, I thought you cared." And he's like, "Man, I wanted one answer, not a damn, not speech. It's like another word for the word speech. You know, I can't remember. But basically, he said that he didn't want me to just start rambling."
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, it was like a realization for me to go, "Oh, so it's not welcome, and he doesn't truly care. He's just ticking boxes off in his mind. Like, it's just, oh, I'm a good boyfriend because I asked. And oh, I'm a good boyfriend because I pretended to care." And I also remember a moment when I was in youth group, and it was before I was in this relationship, but there was a lot. I think I was like 14 or 15. And one of the leaders came up to me and he said, "Hey, how are you?" And I answered him, and I started saying, I was like, "Man, I am really struggling right now." And it was the first time that I was going to like open up and be like, "I actually don't know that I want to live anymore." And it was a couple weeks later that I would make my first attempt. And I remember him cutting me off and going, "Well, I asked that to be polite. I wasn't expecting you to actually answer me."
Mm-hmm.
And whoa, I didn't realize all of these things tied together, but that was another moment that I was like, so people don't care. When people ask you how you are, you're not supposed to answer. You're just supposed to say, "I'm well, how are you?"
Yeah.
That's it. No one actually cares about how I feel. No one
Do you
actually
feel that way when people release to you? Do you feel that way?
No,
Do
I
you feel
love it
like
for that reason. Like, when I ask, "How are you?" like, I want to know. Getting people to open up and say things is so hard. And I understand why, because when people ask me how I am, I don't want to burden them with how I really am, because my whole life I have been a burden on everyone else. And in order to release that burden, I had to sit down and shut up and do what was wanted of me, not actually communicate, which is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about all of this, because I don't want anyone else to ever feel that way. Oh, good word.
Can I ask you to drop into your body again?
It's like you're coaching me or something. Okay.
I know, right? So crazy. I want you to take a really deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken all day. And if you need to take more, that's fine too. Can you say, "I'm not a burden"?
Oh, why is that so hard? Okay.
Take all the time you need. Move your body in any way you need to.
Wow, why do the words get stuck? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
Where are you feeling sensation in your body right now?
My jaw gets really tight, because even by default, like, I know it's okay to cry, but I like, just my default is to just get myself to stop crying. And it's like, it's as if I feel the words come and they just get stuck in my throat. Like, there's just all of this tension.
There's a lot of blockage around that area for you.
Yeah.
Can you put your hands here, like on your jaw like this for me? And take a deep breath. Maybe give it a little rub, a little massage. Whatever way it feels good for you. Giving yourself that love. Feel your feet connected to the ground. Feel the weight of your body pressed up against your chair. You're safe here. You're in a welcome space where anything you're feeling is welcome and is safe. And if it's not accessible for you to say those words, that's okay. You just take the time you need and let me know. I'm not a burden.
Wow, okay. I want to believe that.
Okay.
But I feel like I've almost reached this place where I've harnessed my voice and I share my story, and I'm so passionate about sharing my story. But my voice only feels valid if it's in service for someone else. If it's in service for the people that I help, if it's in service for the people listening to the podcast,
yeah,
if it's providing value for someone else.
Okay.
I feel
well. I'm here to tell you that right now you're providing value for yourself and other people. If you can't say it for yourself right now, that's okay. You'll get there.
Oh, this is incredibly frustrating though. Why? It's just
work. It doesn't have any valuation on the growth that you've had or who you are now or who you were in the past. If you're not able to say it right now, that's okay. But I can say it for you right now. And I can tell you that no matter what you do, no matter who you tell your story to, just purely by existing, you have value. And you belong here. You belong wherever you go, whatever room you enter, you have value and you belong.
It's so crazy how I could say the same damn thing in every podcast, in every IGTV, and every person that I talk to. And yet, when I hear someone saying it to me,
it's hard.
It almost,
sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
It's like, it's almost as if it's not meant for me. Like, you know, when you're scrolling on TikTok and there's a video that comes up where someone says, hey, stop scrolling. I want you to know that I'm proud of you. And I want you to know that you're beautiful. And those ones, I've done them and I love them. But it's like, man, they're really impacting someone's life today. Like, oh man, they're bringing value to someone, but not for me. It's for her, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's for the next person, but that can't possibly be for me.
Can I ask you, do you, and this might not be for the podcast, but do you share your son's name or no?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we can go back to the recording now. What's your son's name?
Axel.
Axel. Okay. I want you to think about Axel. And I want you to think about a beautiful memory of him. It could be when he woke up this morning. It could be you imagining whatever he's doing right now. But just, I want you, as best you can, to picture in your mind, whether your eyes are open or closed, doesn't matter. Just a beautiful memory of him. Did he belong in that moment?
Yeah.
And he's 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You were that 6-year-old child once too. And if he belongs purely by existing, so do you. It's really hard. It's extremely difficult to offer the love and compassion that we so freely give to others, especially if we only view ourselves as being useful to somebody else. It's really hard. So please try not to beat yourself up for not being able to show that to yourself yet. Parts of you already are, just by being here doing this now, you are already showing that love to yourself. The seed's already planted. It just needs continuous love and water, nourishment to grow. And it will. It's already growing.
And I think about that all the time. Like even last night, just rolling over and just seeing him just sleeping. And he was just there and existing. And it was the deepest sleep he'd ever slept. And I had to like play with his, like play with their lips to make sure they're still breathing.
Yeah.
And
make sure they're not dead.
I was like, oh man, what is going on? And I just think of, because I don't want him to experience this. I want to heal from this and say it so that way he doesn't have to go through it. Because at 6 years old, when I was his age, that's when I learned that oh my God, that's when I learned that my only value was in providing pleasure for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so much trouble connecting with my 6-year-old self, with like inner child stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because all I can see is my child, and all I want to do, well, I mean, let's be completely honest, I want to go murder people, but like, I can't connect with her. I just see her as someone who so desperately wanted love and was taught that love is something that it is not.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to heal from this, to not just show everyone else that it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
but for my son to look back and see what is possible for him. I want him to go, man, if my mom can make it through that, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
You are.
It just sucks that I'm 27 years old. Ugh. And I'm still feeling so stuck not because of 6-year-old me, but because of what happened to 6-year-old me.
The trauma that you've experienced, you know that there are people that go their whole lifetimes not telling anyone about what's happened to them, or not even being able to identify the fact that they didn't deserve that their entire lifetimes.
And it breaks my heart. Like, it keeps me up at night thinking about it. But
you've already done that. That's something you've already done. And your place in that path isn't necessarily any better or worse than their place in the path. Do you feel like you're here in this room now, or do you feel like you're stuck back in memories?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because, and we talked about this before recording last week when we had chatted, but it's kind of, you know how like the brain will like save things until you're ready and it like opens things up.
Yeah.
Not earlier this year, last year is when my brain decided it was time to show me and allow me to remember what happened to me when I was a kid. And so since that moment, about 6 months ago, I haven't been able to be fully present, because it's almost as if there's this 6-year-old little kid who is living that. And it's just like, it's not always the same moment. It's always the same experience. That it's only maybe about 5% of me, but it's like a very distant, foggy thing that's just there all the time, versus me being 100% present. And it's really annoying that my brain did this, because it was like it was right before all that happened that I finally figured out how to be present in the moment. And I was like riding this high of like, yes, like I've crossed a freaking, or like I've climbed a mountain. And then the brain's like, oh, hey, you're ready for this. Let's just dump this. And it's just like, oh, okay.
You peeled back another layer of the onion. And so there's another layer behind that. Can you, we're going to do something now. It's called horse lips, where you kind of go like when you take a big breath. So we're just going to do that 2 times. Okay. I'll do it with you. Okay. Take a deep breath.
So busy laughing. Okay, I'll do it again. I'm
I know
sorry.
it's hard not to do it. I know it's so dumb. This is how we're getting you like back a little bit more in your body, back in the present moment. And you said before that you use humor to kind of break the ice. So I'm trying to play into that right now.
I love it and I appreciate it. Okay.
Well, I think this is actually a really good, since you're laughing, that should be a good sign. We think that this is a good stopping point for our session together. Because we've already unpacked a lot and you have climbed mountains. There are just more mountains. It's a mountain range.
Oh, it's the most annoying.
Climb the whole range at once.
But why? Why can't I do it?
Yeah, you know, we're talking about how sporadic feminine energy is and how it is like a bowl of spaghetti. And our journeys also happen in peaks and valleys, you know, like we plateau for a while and then we go a little bit up and then we plateau and then we go a little bit up and we plateau and then suddenly we've hit a peak and everything feels great and amazing and nothing will ever be bad again and like I've made it, and then you start your descent. But there's another mountain. And the mountains don't have to be bad. That's just the roller coaster of life. So, you know, whether you want to be a mountain climber or a roller coaster rider, whichever analogy works for you.
Roller coasters freak me out. One slip and you're dead. So I'm gonna
okay. No roller coasters. Definitely no roller coasters. It's a mountain in which you will never be able to fall down because it's an imaginary mountain.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You, just by the fact that you've already gotten to this point, you're never going to go back to that place again. That's not going to be you. And you don't have to start a podcast or be a coach, but that's what you're doing. And you're doing great work. And just by speaking this into existence and saying, I'm not tolerating this for me anymore, that's not going to happen to Axel. That's not going to happen to him. That's not going to, and you're not available for that anymore. There's no going back. You won't be able to let yourself. You can't.
It's so I know we're wrapping up here, but it is so insane to me. And I want everyone to hear this. Stop what you're doing and listen for a second. Because I can say till I'm blue in the face to everybody else these same things. But that I am not saying it from a place of, oh, I know better and I'm fixed. Y'all just heard I still got a long way to go. And I needed to hear it from someone else. This is why everybody needs a coach. And therapists need therapists and coaches need therapists and coaches. Nobody's got it all figured out. We just need someone in our corner to turn on the switch or even just add another freaking flashlight to the room. And I am so grateful, Caitlin, that you were so willing and so open to put up with me and all of my insanity to do
There's
this.
no putting up with you. There's no.
I'm
here freely on my own accord.
Well, I am.
Wasn't it my idea to do the coaching on the podcast? I chose this.
This is true.
This is what I wanted for you. This is what you wanted. We are consenting partners.
This is why I love her. Do you hear this? That sass is everything. I love it. So as we're wrapping up, first off, we had talked about this before, but Caitlin has a really special, it's like just a 2-minute meditation. And let me tell you, I just did it and it was the best thing. And I am so happy that I get to have it every day forever. And it's so good. You're going to want it. Is there a specific link, or do you want me to just put that link in the show notes? Or if you have like
you can find the link on my website. So it's CaitlinPerna.com.
Okay.
And that's spelled CaitlinPerna.com. So you can find that for free there. Also, if it's acceptable, I'd love to discuss how folks can work with me if they want to.
That's why you're here. 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, everybody needs you in their life, so go for it.
Well, if this is work that's calling to you, you can hear me talking about emotional regulation, body work, body confidence, and sex ed discussion on Instagram at Caitlin.Perna. Also, at least at the time of this recording, March 2021, I'm releasing a group program for a very small, intimate container of feminine folks called Radiantly Satisfied Feminine Group Program, in which, as opposed to working with me one-on-one, you are able to access a group sisterhood and have recordings. Some of it is yoga and meditation. Some of it is other bodywork exercises similar to what we did today with you, Karleigh. And that's going to be a 12-week container. And you can find more about that through my Instagram bio.
I am so excited. And y'all, let me tell you, if I had any questions, I'm going to do everything I can to get my butt in there next month. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. I need more of you in my life. You need more of Caitlin in your life. So go check her out, Caitlin.Perna on Instagram. Thank you so much, Caitlin. I am forever in gratitude for you and for today and for being so willing and for everything you do. I just love you.
I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and I just love your face.